I'm going to try the short mic because I'm short. So all of you guys like to eat, right? Okay. And presumably, you have at one point wondered where your food comes from. And if you've ever asked this question at all, you've probably heard about the locavore movement, the idea that we can have a smaller environmental footprint, we can encourage sustainable organic farming and support our local communities if we eat locally. And this is really important to maintaining our foodways. Now, the problem with being a locavore, it's a fabulous idea if you live in California. But here in the Northeast, we have winter. And unless you learn how to do food preservation, if you're eating locally, you're going to be eating like turnips and kale all winter. And that's no fun for anybody. So you have to learn how to do food preservation. And when people used to live, kind of closer to the ground, this was something that people knew how to do. And you can still find old cookbooks that tell you, that'll have canning recipes or freezing recipes, but you can't always trust them because some of the safety recommendations have changed. So the good news is that there are a whole new set of resources that can tell you, how they can get you back into this. Everything from the USDA to cookbooks to food bloggers. Now, there's really getting to be a critical mass of these food bloggers who are interested in food preservation. And this summer, with all the new excitement about kind of locavorism, but also with the economy, there was more interest in canning. And so we created a grassroots event called Canning Across America and the Canvolution, in which we declared the last weekend in August a canning holiday. And we did workshops and lectures. I hung out in Clark Park in West Philadelphia with my canning gear, basically doing a dry demonstration to say, you can do this. But some of you missed it. So I'm here tonight to show you that you can do this. And so I'm here to dispel the canning myths, to let you know that canning is not scary, it's not dangerous, and you don't need any special equipment except for maybe a big pot, but a stock pot will do. And it's also not expensive, particularly if you buy in bulk. It's also not magic. Canning works on a very basic principle of chemistry. It's also what makes hot air balloons work. Hot air is bigger than cold air. So if you have hot jars and hot lids, and you have hot food, and you put the hot food in the hot jars, when it cools off, it actually creates a vacuum. And as the air gets smaller, it pushes the lid down, and you get a seal. And once you have a seal, you've got a product that's airtight and will stay airtight for a couple of years if you want it. That still doesn't solve the problem of bacteria. So what you need to know about canning is that all food basically falls into two categories of high acid foods and low acid foods. Most of what amateur canners want to do is high acid foods. So all the fruits, tomatoes, jams, pickles, all those things, you can do them in a hot water bath. The kinds of bacteria that can live in high acid foods can be killed by the temperature of boiling water. So you take your hot food in the hot jar and you put it in a hot boiling water bath, and you process it for anywhere between 10 minutes to half an hour, whatever your directions say, and that kills the germs. And then you can put it on your shelf, and you don't have to freeze it, you don't have to have anything special, and it can stay there for 2 years, and you don't have to eat turnips and kale in winter. Now, the catch is that not everything is a high-acid food. So if you're working with vegetables are low-acid foods, and the classic one is green beans. Green beans will give you botulism. Do not can them in a hot water bath. This is what gives canning a bad reputation. No. If you want to do green beans, you need a pressure canner, and I can't tell you about pressure canning in 5 minutes. That's a whole other story. But the good news is that there are things that you can do to vegetables that make them safe for water bath canning. So this is a corn relish, and corn is the kind of thing that it's not safe to do in a water bath. But if you put it in a lot of vinegar, it's perfectly fine. So you can do corn relish, you can do 4-bean salad. That's another way that you can can green beans. It's perfectly safe. And once you get the hang of this, you'll be amazed. I mean, you can really do just about anything from, I've done salsa, sauerkraut, corn relishes, lots and lots of tomatoes, peaches, brandied pears. At this point, I have a whole basement full. And I have another one, but it didn't photograph very well because my basement's pretty dark. But I've got about twice this many on another shelf. So we're going to be eating well this winter. And if you get bored with canning, you can always move on to freezing and dehydrating and pickling and salting and curing and all sorts of other stuff. But canning will give you a lot to work with. So basically, this is something everybody can do. It's not hard. It's not scary. And I encourage you to go to my website, dorisandjillycook.com, where I've got lots of recipes and instructions, and there's even more at Canning Across America. Thank you.